attraction, Austin Henry.
The main attraction.
Thank you. It's the first time Chad Bartlett, the loaded gun, I'll go ahead and give you your title. First time I've heard Chad Bartlett give me some props in quite a while around here.
Right, but not behind the scenes. I give you quite a few props. In fact,
yes,
we're pretty
to
good
your
friends.
credit.
You know?
We are.
I was lucky enough to be here to see you come in and begin and start your training and everything. And you've come a long way, man. It's really fun to see, the Sultan taking you like a battering ram and grating your face up against the cage like he did after Christmas, like a cheese grater. Your face was just. How was that? How did that feel?
I think cheese grater might be a good analogy there. I mean, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
There's no Tom Savini special effects magic to that one. That's just my face up against the steel cage.
And you were happy about
getting
it. You
rubbed
enjoyed
back
it.
and forth. I thought it was awesome. I'm sure, you try to imagine what are they seeing. You're seeing it POV. You try to imagine what are the people seeing. And just from the reaction, I think it was good for them. So
Everybody
I did
was
enjoy
having
it.
a good time. You guys did great.
Thank you very much.
So let's step back and let's go on to where and when did you find out about SOM?
All right. I've been wanting to get into pro wrestling for a while. It was something that was kind of long-term goal for me, but I think I had it in my head that it was a lot more unattainable, I think was the issue. And I'd been working nights at a gym for a while, and I was working out the whole time trying to get in shape, and my whole thing was, okay, I'm going to get in really, really good shape. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to go do this. And I kind of kept putting it off, it wasn't confident enough for it. And I kind of had it in my head that, I'm going to do it eventually. Got to keep putting in work. And then actually the guy I was working nights with, he'd heard me talking about it. He was like, man, when are you going to just do this shit? He was like, I hear you talking about pro wrestling. He wasn't even a pro wrestling fan. He was like, you want to do this? Go ahead and do it. And so I started looking into schools, and in terms of affordability, location, and then quality, I saw Ricky Morton's name on this place. Obviously that carries a lot with it, and School of Morton was just the best option.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that are here had a similar situation, and saw Ricky Morton's name on the door and knew that they were going to get some knowledge coming here.
Absolutely.
It's not just from nobody.
Yeah,
so,
and there's a lot of great talent out there, but the name Ricky Morton, I mean, that's one of the greatest baby faces of all time.
A lot of people say that, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear that sentiment echoed in interview after interview by all kinds of names in the wrestling business, so there's not really a better option out there, man.
Right. So where does your history with wrestling start? Where was that moment where, Austin Henry was like, wow, this is something I'm super interested in?
I was always a fan as a kid. I was never like a diehard fan, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. I liked it. I followed it. I was never like watching all the shows, catching all of it until I got a little bit older and kind of started seeing like behind the scenes stuff. And that's when I went from wrestling's cool to like, this is fucking great. It's can I cuss?
Be
okay.
you.
Beep, edit it. Beep, more work for you.
No, not gonna happen. Sorry.
Okay, all right. Sorry, guys. But I think the switch kind of flipped for me there when I saw that, like, okay, it's not just something fun to watch sometimes. It's like it's an art form, and it's something very unique. Like, the best example I can give is there's nothing else where you go in front of a crowd of people and you want to be booed. I can't think of any other performance art, anything where you want the crowd to hate you and trash you. And I mean, that kind of sums it up. But it's wrestling's like, it's unique. There's the athleticism of it, the presentation of it, the creative aspect of it, which is what really made it a pursuit for me.
Yeah.
And it just once I saw some of the behind the scenes stuff, then I was like hooked. I went from like being a casual wrestling fan to watching a lot of wrestling.
So where did you see the behind the scenes stuff? Was it like Tough Enough or?
Oh, that's just on the internet.
Just on the internet.
Looking up, being interested enough in wrestling to look up stuff here and there, and then you know how it is. You can't. All wrestling fans know heel. They know the words.
Yeah.
All the wrestling fans watch shoot interviews, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's all out there. That's how it is these days. So just stumbling across all that stuff, and there's so much of it on the internet. You hear all these awesome interviews of people talking about how they got into it, the process behind some of the moments you remember from TV.
Yeah.
Just looking into it online and finding all sorts of stuff like that.
Right. So what was the biggest surprise from you wanting to get into the business to like you starting to actually get into the business? What was it that surprised you the most? Like something you had perceived differently that once you got involved you knew, but before you didn't?
I think I always gave wrestling credit. I've never been one of those people that's like, oh, it's fake, it doesn't hurt, because it does, and I could tell that shit before I ever did it. But when you get into wrestling, it's interesting where you don't really know, even if you're looking at shoot interviews, stuff like that, you don't really know where the line is between real and fake, and that's exciting as a fan. A lot of the best storylines and stuff going on in wrestling kind of blurs that line. But in terms of like moves, what hurts, what doesn't, you think there's some kind of sleight of hand to some of this stuff. It's like, no, you got hit in the face, But also that aspect with storytelling and performance and character and the moves where you never know exactly where the line is. So I think that was the coolest thing for me, and the biggest surprise was seeing that, it's not a fine line sometimes. There's a really big blur between what's, real and not.
And what's acceptable to one person that you're working with and what's not acceptable to another person you're working with. It's very individual.
Yeah, in terms of what they're willing to do,
what
and
they're
also
willing to
style.
do in the ring, what you can say about them in a promo.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like you and me could say,
we could tear each other up in it. It's fun. It's fun.
But there's certain people that will make you pay for that.
The line is in a different spot for them.
Yes,
the line is in a much different place.
Yeah, that's something I found interesting as well.
Yeah,
where
I
the
get
line
that.
is. Yeah. So you're a young cat. You've got a lot of potential for things that you could do, not only in the wrestling business, but in your normal life, job pursuits of any career you wanted to. Really, good-looking guy, smart guy.
Well, thank you.
So, are you going broke for this thing? Is this where you're going? Is this your lane?
Yeah,
wrestling? Is there anything else that you're trying to
I'm definitely going broke for it, financially and figuratively, because it's a grind. People.
Yeah,
I don't think people recognize or necessarily, not that they. I don't want this to sound too negative, but I don't think people know enough to appreciate, what goes into pursuing something like this. Because any kind of creative career, which is what I've always wanted, is some way to be creative and make a living with it, but also just put out something that people connect to and appreciate and are entertained by. And anything like that, no matter what the industry, you're going to pour a lot of yourself into it, time and money-wise, emotionally, a lot of dedication if you really want to do it. And that's pro wrestling is it for me, as far as a career that I could see myself getting satisfaction from and being young enough that I think I really can do it. It's pro wrestling. And there's other stuff I'd be interested in. I always wanted to get into film as well. I like to write. Anything creative, so that aspect's what drew me into pro wrestling, because it's got that creative part to it, but also the athleticism of it, the showmanship of it. Like I said earlier, it's a really unique blend. But wrestling is my focus right now. It's where all my efforts going.
Anything outside of wrestling that influences you as a character in the ring? Is all of your influence based on like wrestling stuff, or do you try to pull from things going on outside of wrestling into your wrestling?
Yeah, you look at a lot of successful wrestlers capture some kind of cultural zeitgeist, or maybe if that's the word, or some kind of, they take something that people can connect to that's not explicitly wrestling related, and they feel that. Like you look at like Stone Cold is the best example, where that's a character that I think people connected with, because it's a guy beating the shit out of his asshole boss every week, which everyone wants to do, right? But there was something like culturally at the time that really connected. The timing just lined up for that. So I think it's almost a disservice to yourself creatively to not pull from other influences. I think, Man of Action, I haven't gotten to show as much of it as I'd like, and I've got some ideas for some more creative stuff, but that's kind of a gimmick, action hero, action movie kind of stuff, something that people find entertaining, that you can, on a surface level, without getting too deep into like long-term ideas for channeling myself through a character. I think that that's something I can pull from. Just that style of film, that style of over-the-top action.
Your promos, though, to me, I see The Rock, I see Mr. Perfect, I see, early John Cena, I see arrogant, cocky, look at me,
Maybe,
what I mean?
hopefully a little bit less cocky since I'm out the family. Maybe just
Right.
a little bit less.
But I do see it. It's still there.
Of course.
So I'm wondering if, who is the main? Do you just draw from other stuff? Is it like an internal thing you're doing? Like, who's your draw from the wrestling business to your creative
From the
approach?
like I said, with outside influence, I kind of think, action movies, action stars, that kind of stuff. Trying to come up with some one-liners here and there. That
Johnny Cage, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit of Johnny Cage.
I
maybe.
can see that.
But within wrestling, I mean, I think I'm influenced by everything I watch, and I try not to. I overthink a lot of things, man, but I try not to overthink stuff like that.
That's true.
Because I feel like if I'm watching wrestling, whatever sticks with me and then comes through in a promo or in the ring is something that fits naturally. So I really don't give it too much thought, especially in terms of promos. I just talk.
Yeah.
I don't give it too much thought of, I want to sound like this guy or that guy. Whatever fits the character I'm trying to do, whatever fits me will come through, will stick in my mind and come through in a promo.
Okay. Well, that's cool. What about your fitness journey, right? You said that was a big thing that you wanted to get handled before you tried to get into the wrestling business. What kind of mentality did you have to take? How long did it take you? You've got a great body. You take care of yourself.
I try.
So where did that start, and how long did it take you to be like, I'm comfortable? Because obviously it was another bridge you had to cross to actually do it.
Yeah.
You got fit first and then still lingered before you got into it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what was that period where you knew my body's where I want it to be?
And
how long did that take?
I mean, I had to have somebody tell me, because my body's not where I want it to be, man. I mean, long term, of course. But like I said, my coworker, I got to give him a lot of props at the time. He said that. Some of my friends had said something. They're like, man, you're in pretty good shape. Because it's a confidence thing or whatever, where I don't really see it from that outside perspective. I'm the same as I've always been, and I guess I needed people around me to say, like, hey man, you're in pretty good shape now. You've made a lot of progress. You can go do this,
Yeah.
Especially wrestling, there's a little more athleticism in certain styles of wrestling these days, so maybe not as much. You don't have to be as big necessarily. And like I said, I still have a lot to work on or want to get. But that journey for me kind of started. This would be 2.5 years ago, roughly. I just wasn't happy with where I was in life, and I had it in the back of my mind for years before that I wanted to be a wrestler. And I dabbled in working out a little bit before then. I didn't take it seriously enough, didn't really get anywhere with it. And I was at kind of a low point. The things I had going on in my life, was trying to juggle a lot, and it wasn't really working out. It was kind of falling apart, it felt like. And that was something I went back to, where it was like, this is in my control. This is something that'll make me feel good. I mean, it's scientifically proven to make you feel good. It's good for you to be in shape. And I kind of thought, this is something that no matter what the other circumstances in my life are, I can focus on this, put in the work, get results, and it's all on me.
Yeah.
That removes a lot of the stress from it.
Yeah.
So it was somewhere near the end of 2017 when I got really serious about, I'm going to get in the gym, I'm going to eat as many calories as it takes. I didn't eat the right ones. I didn't do the diet as clean as I should have. But I was like, I'm going to eat whatever it takes. I'm going to work out. I'm going to dedicate myself to it. And then I started working nights at a gym. And at that point, it was a lot easier for me being around it.
Yeah.
I'd already been kind of consistent with it. But then at that point, it was like an obsession, where it was a lot of what my time and effort went to. A lot of where my focus was just on exercise.
Right. Which paid off. So, you're continuing to work out at it, but you've got a really solid foundation. And
Thank you.
The business has changed.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a ripped Hollywood action star. It helps. It's definitely not something that hurts, but having that advantage, did you feel like you had made it to a certain point and then you got here and you started actually training to be a wrestler and you were like, wow, that is not even half the work, just maintaining your body.
Absolutely. Yeah, the look is part of it, but like you said, I felt like after people told me, okay, you can go do this, I know I wasn't where I wanted to be, and I'm still not, but I felt like, okay, I've got something decent as far as the look goes. And yeah, like you said, it was like, oh, well, step one is halfway done with.
Is literally just step one.
Yeah. And then you get in here, and it's something else entirely.
Yeah.
To put it together in the ring.
I always wondered what it would be like for somebody coming from like, you know, a professional sport, or, you know, just somebody who's really in shape, and, you know, you're in pretty good shape.
And I'd gone a few years without playing sports, actually, just weightlifting.
And then you come into something like this, and it's like, that literally just makes you look better.
Yeah,
everything else brand new.
Yeah, starting from scratch. And I think that I have some kind of natural athleticism that I kind of underwrote. You know, like I struggle with confidence. A lot of people do, and I think for a few years I wasn't active in sports, and I kind of stopped thinking of myself as athletic in any way, shape, or form. And I got into weightlifting, and I was like, oh, I'm trying to look good, but I didn't really think of that athletically.
Yeah.
And when I got in here and started trying to put in the work, I was like, okay, some of this is coming to me. You know, some of it I still have. Some of it takes a lot
away.
You're
a talented guy. You're a great talent.
Well,
then there's like being talented and then being like really good at the art form.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Well, and then totally when you say some talented or whatever, some of it comes to me. Some of it does. Some of it doesn't. I mean, there's people. It's like whether it's something you're scared to try or whether it's something you're not capable of. I'll see someone do something effortlessly that's very hard for me, and then I'll do something right away that they can't seem to do. And it really depends on the individual, what comes easy to you, what doesn't, the way your brain learns and works. I have a hard time with stuff like chain wrestling, as I'm sure you've seen in training.
Yeah, I mean, everybody does if you don't
for me, it's like,
train that.
I have to see that visually, then try it, then go back and see it visually, and then maybe it'll click. But I've seen people that get that right away, but then other stuff they struggle with.
Right, kind of individual. So you keep bringing this up, and I think it's something that we need to talk about. It's important for people to hear, because you're not the only one, right? But you say you struggle with confidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, and we all do. But you've brought it up like 5 times. You've said
I think it's
confidence. So I just want
to give an honest answer. I kind of have to. How I got here and the process that goes into it.
Yeah, we need to talk about that, because here you are. You're one of the most consistent people. You're one of the people who works the hardest.
Thank you.
You've obviously worked hard to maintain your body, and yet you're still fighting that battle with confidence. What are your words of advice to overcome that kind of thing and stay consistent and still keep trying to improve?
Advice.
These aren't easy
put
questions.
Me on the spot.
Man.
No, they shouldn't be easy questions. They shouldn't be easy questions. I don't want to get started on a tangent here, but for something simple that I think maybe people need to hear, and it's cliche, but when you see people and they seem confident externally, and you kind of you're thinking there's such a big gap between where you are and where they are. There's really not, because it's as simple. It's not easy, but it is simple, right? And it's hard to do, but like I said, it's simple when it's just do it. Just start. If you start pushing yourself for something you want to do and putting in the work and dedicating yourself to it, it's gonna come, and it's not gonna happen overnight. It's a slow process, and you're not gonna check a box or hit a goal and just immediately be the most confident guy in the world. You're not gonna stop having any of those problems, but I think that's kind of relieving, because you think that you don't have to. You know, it is a constant battle. You know, with anything, with a performance art like wrestling, where you're out in front of a crowd, with something where you're putting in work and you're trying to get better, or with something where you're putting in effort like working out and trying to get in shape, you're still gonna have those issues. But I think maybe there's some comfort to be taken in the fact that that's natural. That's part of it. There's no, oh, this guy's better than me. He doesn't feel like that.
Right.
That's how everyone is. And once you realize that that's always part of it, but despite that, you can still do what you want to do, I think that kind of frees you from the stress of it a little bit.
But you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
The fact that you're here today.
I'm in the process of it.
We're here. We're in the process of doing it. I can't remember who it was or where I heard it, but somebody said showing up is you've won half the battle.
Yeah.
Being there, being where you want to be.
And so that's what I always heard about the gym. If you feel like shit and you're tired,
yeah, showing
so once
up.
Once you walk in through the front door, you're gonna get something.
So that
done,
comes with training, studying for your schoolwork,
anything. Yeah.
Getting to work at your job, getting to the gym.
Once you make your mind up that you're gonna do it and start doing it. Because you're not going to do it at 100% every time. You know, not everything's going to be an A+.
Even a
but it's the consistency.
Yeah,
it is. It's you're not, at the very least, you're not losing any progress if you're sticking to it.
Yeah. So, well, thank you for that. You know, it's not easy for people to talk about that. I know. I struggle with it.
I hope I articulated it well.
I think you did a pretty good job. But, you know, once again, there's that confidence. I don't think I did it too well, or did I? Right?
Yeah. Well, I want my points to come across well, you know.
But, so we have talked, you know, and I know that you are a big New Japan fan.
I am.
So when did you start watching New Japan? What do you take from New Japan?
I'm sure I saw clips here and there on YouTube, but I think I really started paying attention to New Japan when people online were really starting to buzz about it.
Yeah.
I guess that'd be like 2014-ish.
Right.
You know, people talking about, that was when AJ started his run there. People were already talking about Okada. So I was hearing all these names, and I started to see clips here and there, but it seemed, with the language barrier, I was like, I don't know if I can. I didn't really get into watching it for a couple more years, and then I'd seen all these clips. I was like, oh, that looks cool. And around the time AJ reached WWE, or before, when he was rumored to, before the Rumble debut, I was like, well, let me go out there and like actually sit down and watch this. And of course, there's English commentary on a lot. Sometimes there's not. But I think they do a great job of telling the stories in the ring, man. I can watch it with Japanese commentary and get the story they're telling in the match.
Yes.
So that's something.
Because it's a
that's something Ricky Morton preaches it. Everyone here preaches it. Storytelling, telling your story in the ring and conveying that.
Ricky Morton influenced Japanese wrestling in a big way. You know,
Southern wrestling, Japanese wrestling. There's a long history there.
Yes.
But I think it's under New Japan's looked at by some people as like high spots and shit. And of course they do that. You have to. But it's like the storytelling and the psychology there is next level. And I think that with how much that's preached around here, because it's a fundamental, with how much Ricky Morton focuses on that, as he should, that's what I take from New Japan, really, is how well they tell that story. I mean, they have two faces go into a match, and they'll tell a story where they kind of play to the crowd, and they midway through the match, the crowd has shifted from 50-50 to maybe 100% by one guy, and then maybe they shift back. And after the match, it doesn't. Yeah. Well, they'll have someone, quote unquote, work heel against the underdog, and after the match, they're both still over. It doesn't hurt them because they're so good at telling that story. And I think they give fans enough credit when sometimes wrestlers or wrestling companies or whoever it may be don't give the fans enough credit to follow like nuances.
Right.
Especially in this day and age when wrestling's so big online with that community, people want to talk about it and pick it apart, and they'll get it.
Yeah.
They'll get it if you tell that story. And I mean, there's cool moves, there's physicality to New Japan that I love. I want to incorporate that, but ultimately it's that storytelling, that attention to detail in the ring.
So
is really what I take from
Japan. But I've become a fan of yours, a friend of yours.
Oh, thank you.
It's awesome being able to work with you in the ring and have you as my friend outside the ring. And I see great things in your future. And I see great things in the future for all of us.
Absolutely.
Because you're a part of it, because we're all working
Absolutely.
together.
We can go out there and tear it up anytime,
that's right.
man.
What are you looking forward to the next 5 years for SOM? Where do you see it going? Where do you see Austin Henry and SOM going?
I mean, I don't know. It's I can make a guess, but I don't want to put a ceiling on it, and I also don't think it's something we can predict, because I think we're starting to do a very good job lately of capitalizing. So I don't know where I see us, because I think whatever opportunity arises, we'll pursue that avenue and we'll do it well. So there's no telling, man. There's no telling.
That's,
but I absolutely think we can stand out.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say we can. I think we can stand out wherever we end up. I think we do a great job telling stories, and we're only going to get better at that. I think that's really our niche or something that sets us apart is how good we are at telling those stories.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Coming on here, answering the hard questions.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
I got to learn a little bit more about you. I know everybody at home did. Thank you so much for checking out SOM Live Podcast. It's the Loaded Gun Chad Bartlett with my friend,
Man of Action, Austin Henry.
That's right, baby. Check out the next one. I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you again, man.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.